Phyllis, thank you. You took me by surprise claiming the Dole seat because I thought, no, that's me. Wrong Dole. Senator Hassan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate you and the ranking member having this hearing today. To our witnesses, thank you so much for testifying before us today and for your service to our country and to our veterans. Ms. Bailey, I want to start with a question for you. First, my condolences for your family's loss.
Thank you.
I didn't know your stepfather, but I'm confident that he would be proud of your advocacy for veterans. Your testimony touched upon an issue that I think is really important, which is access to high-quality care when you need it and where you need it, right? And in response to questions from Senator Blumenthal, you mentioned that after your stepfather's ALS diagnosis, he had to use community care in addition to the care he received at the VA because of the lack of resources available. And you talked about the impact, the lack of experience of that community care provider. But this is beyond an individual profile of a particular condition or disease. My concern, because I am from New Hampshire, which doesn't have a full-service VA hospital, and also has a very high rural population of veterans who live far away from the nearest VA facility. Can you just expand on how veterans are affected when they can't get all of the care that they need through a VA that is practically accessible to them?
There's a lot of things that can happen. First and foremost, I think there's kind of a mental aspect to it. At the VA, it's a culture. Our veterans like being at the VA. They prefer it because those people understand them. Many of the VA providers and employees are veterans themselves. And there's a unique bond that veterans have and that trust that they have. So I think that's a big thing right there to look at. The lack of knowledge in these conditions like ALS, that's very, very important to address. And I think that having that in our family and being sent to the community to get the care, it was frustrating. Our family questioned, should we even go back to this doctor? And that's dangerous when you're dealing with ALS. There's a lot of things that you need to consider: feeding tubes, breathing options, PT, OT, respiratory care. You need to make sure you're taking all of those things into account. And if you're sent to a community care physician or provider that doesn't really understand your condition, you're not as likely to go back and continue that care. And you have a problem with, well, is this going to go downhill a lot faster? What's this going to do? So I think that making sure, even at those VAs that aren't a full service, they are knowledgeable enough in the community to know, where should I send these people that know about ALS, that are going to treat my veterans the way they deserve to be treated, that are going to treat them like I would. So that's something to really kind of think about when we're using the community care. It is an option, and I do think that it should stay an option, but I don't think it should be our go-to option for our veterans.
I appreciate that very much, and I will just, a quick personal aside, my son has a feeding tube, and it was a neurologist who treats a whole lot of children with feeding tubes who figured out how we could get capsulated medication into the feeding tube without clogging it. She also happened to be a mother, and I happen to think that that played something into it, but it really does make a huge difference. Mrs. Ward, in your written testimony, you discussed the need to fully implement provisions of the Dole Act, which President Biden signed into law at the start of this year. And I share your concern about the delayed implementation of the bill. Now, Senator Moran asked you about oversight, but as someone who has such personal knowledge about the challenges that veterans and caregivers face, can you please tell us a little more about how full implementation of the Dole Act would support caregivers and how its continued delay might affect you, your family, and our other veterans?
Yes, thank you for the question. I think that the full implementation of the Dole Act would eliminate this sense of that all these beautiful programs that we have at the VA are not, they're so siloed, is what it feels like. Like, how can I get home-based primary care? Because I live in an area where I'm too far from the main Durham VA. But why can't Fayetteville, which is where the Wilmington CBOC falls under,
Right.
why can't they communicate well with Durham? Why can't I have that? Why is it so hard to get veteran-directed care? I mean, we did get it. We finally got it.
Yeah.
But then we got skill care. And we're not going to use services we don't actually need right now,
Right.
just because we can get them, right? So nursing care really fits for our situation. But then what about palliative care? How do we get that? Does my PCAFC coordinator know about how to get palliative care? What about hospice? And how can we set it up so that this man that I love so much can stay at home for the rest of his life? And it shouldn't take so much work. And my sense of working with some of the people at the VA, if they want to do the right thing, we have had pretty much a good experience with everybody that we work with at the VA. But they don't know this program from that program. And my understanding of the Dole bill is that's not there anymore. Those barriers aren't there. There's so many barriers that somebody like me, who's well-educated and experienced with the VA, I sometimes can't get access to these programs. And it's so tiring to fight them. I just want to go drink my Frappuccino somewhere. I'm not even asking for a lot. I'm not asking to go to Hawaii or to Italy or something. I just want to have a little bit of peace. And I want to be able to take care of them at home. And whether my veteran has ALS or another spinal cord injury or traumatic brain injury, it doesn't matter. We all should be able to access this care so that we can keep doing what we do. It shouldn't be siloed like it feels like.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Chair, with the time. Mr. Thomas, I'll submit a question for the record for you. Again, I appreciate all of you very much being here. We really value your care, your service, and your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.